Namaskar and welcome to Parliament News. I'm Gautam Roy. Let's first tell you what's happened in the Lok Sabha today. Well, Home Minister Amit Shah on Monday conveyed the government's regret in the Lok Sabha over the killings of civilians in firing by security forces in Nagaland and said that a probe by a special investigation team, that's an SIT, will be completed within a month. With the Lok Sabha members from various parties condemning the incident, Amit Shah said all agencies must ensure that it does not recur when they take action against insurgents. In a statement in the Lok Sabha, the Home Minister offered condolences to the families of those killed in the incident on the 4th of December. Security forces opened fire on civilians, killing 14 and injuring 11 in Nagaland's Mon district in 3 separate incidents, the first of which was a case of mistaken identity which prompted protests and rioting, resulting in 2 more cases of firing of security forces. 1 soldier was also killed in the rioting. Narrating the sequence of events, the Home Minister said the army received information on the movement of insurgents in Nagaland's Mon and 21 Para-Commando unit laid an ambush. A vehicle was signaled to stop, but it tried to speed away, and suspecting the presence of extremists in the vehicle, security personnel opened fire. 6 out of 8 occupants of the vehicle died as a result of the firing by security forces, said the Home Minister, adding that later it was found to be a case of mistaken identity. He said local people, on getting news of the firing, surrounded and attacked the troops, and 1 soldier was killed in the violence while several others got injured. Amit Shah said that in self-defense and to disperse the crowd, the troops had to open fire, in which 7 civilians were killed. He said that on Sunday evening, an agitated crowd targeted Assam Rifles Company operating base and forces had to open fire, in which 1 civilian was killed. It's been decided all agencies must ensure such incidents do not happen in future during action against insurgents, the minister said, expressing dissatisfaction with the statement. Opposition parties, including the Congress, DMK, SP, BSP and the NCP, walked out of the House. Earlier in the day, Lok Sabha members condemned the Nagaland incident and demanded an impartial probe. Members also called for the repeal of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, that's AFSPA, stressing that emotional integration of people living in border areas is extremely important for the unity and integrity of the country. Congress leader Manish Tiwari demanded that there should be an impartial judicial inquiry by a sitting High Court judge into the unfortunate incident. He also urged the government not to invoke the immunity under the AFSPA against those who are found guilty. Tokheho Yepthomi, Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party NDPP member in the Lok Sabha, said there should be an inquiry into the incident. The state government has announced an ex-gratia of 5 lakh rupees for those slain. But since the civilians were killed by Central Security Forces, the compensation should be paid by the centre, he said. AFSPA has not given powers to security forces to indiscriminately kill people, Yepthomi said, and referring to the killing of 14 civilians during an anti-insurgency operation in Nagaland on the 4th of December. Congress member Gaurav Gogoi said the death of Indians at the hands of security forces was highly condemnable. How can a group of unarmed civilians be mistaken as militants, said Gogoi, and demanded convening of an all-party meeting to discuss the situation in the northeast. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay of the Trinamool Congress said the situation in Nagaland should not be allowed to deteriorate further and demanded maximum compensation be given to the next of kin of those killed in the incident. Members said that Nagaland should not be thrown into uncertainty at a time when the centre has been holding peace talks with different insurgent groups in the state. Vinayak Raut of the Shiv Sena wondered how intelligence agencies could give such misleading inputs to security forces. He also demanded an inquiry into the functioning of intelligence agencies. P.V. Mithun Reddy of the YSRCP demanded action against the perpetrators, but said that care should be taken to ensure that the morale of the armed forces does not go down. DMK's T.R. Balu, JDU's Rajiv Singh Ranjan and NCP's Supriya Sule expressed deep anguish at the killings. BSP's Ritesh Pandey said mistakes by the armed forces or failure to follow protocol has raised questions on the credibility of the government and called for an impartial probe into the incident. AIMIM's Asuddin Owaisi wanted the government to tell the Lok Sabha when it would repeal the AFSPA in the state. Owaisi also wanted the government to tell the House whether the tip-off about the presence of militants in the region was received from an informer with links to China. Pratik Bodoloi of the Congress demanded an oversight mechanism on the implementation of AFSPA in Nagaland and demanded that perpetrators of the crime be brought to book. On Sunday, the army expressed deep regret over the incident in Mon district of Nagaland and ordered a court of inquiry. A bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha to correct a drafting error in the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act that rendered a key provision dealing with punishment of those financing illicit trafficking inoperable. Minister of State for Finance Bhagwat Karad introduced the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Amendment Bill 2021 that seeks to replace an ordinance that was promulgated on the 30th of September this year. Opposing the introduction of the bill, RSP member N.K. Premachandran demanded proper scrutiny of the draft legislation, absence of which could lead to a bad law. Premachandran said the drafting error was highlighted when an accused moved a special court in Tripura, contending that he could not be charged for the offence as Section 27A is referred to as blank list. The Tripura High Court subsequently asked the centre to amend the law. Premachandran and BJD member Bhartuhari Mahatab cautioned the government against making the amendments to a criminal law applicable with retrospective effect from 2014. The anomaly crept in when the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act was amended in 2014 to allow better medical access to narcotic drugs, removing state barriers in transporting and licensing of essential narcotic drugs. The government said the amendment does not create any new offence but contains a legislative declaration that reference of clause always meant the corresponding renumbered provision in clause. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman told the Lok Sabha that 52,759 crore rupees have been raised by 61 companies through initial public offers till October this fiscal, higher than the funds mopped up through this route in the last financial year. Out of the 61 companies that hit the markets till October of the current fiscal, 34 entities were small and medium enterprises. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that a large number of manufacturing and service sector companies are coming up for listing. IPOs are being brought by the companies regularly this year, and the amount raised in the current financial year till the month of October 2021 has surpassed the amount raised in the last financial year, she said. In the last fiscal, 56 companies garnered 31,060 crore rupees from IPOs, and out of them, 27 were SMEs as per this SEBI data cited by the minister. The finance minister said that among the 61 IPOs, 35 were below 100 crore rupees, while 4 were in the range of 100 crore rupees and less than 500 crore rupees. As many as 22 IPOs were either equal to 500 crore rupees or more than 500 crore rupees. Among others, 10 companies out of the 61 entities were from the healthcare sector and 6 from cement/constructions. To a supplementary question on whether the Paytm IPO has caused problems for investors, the minister replied in the negative. First of all, there is an impression that the IPO of 197 Communications has caused problems for investors, but no problems have been caused for them, said the minister. It was subscribed more than what the company went for, she pointed out. The IPO of 197 Communications, which is the holding company of Paytm, received bids of 9.14 crore equity shares against the offer size of 4.83 crore shares, according to information available with stock exchanges on the 10th of November. The price band was fixed at 2,080 to 2,150 rupees per share. The 18,300 crore rupees IPO was oversubscribed 1.89 times on the last day of India's biggest share sale. However, the scrip made a weak debut on the stock exchanges on the 18th of November and had tumbled over 27% during the day from the issue price of 2,150. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Monday asked ministers to answer the members' questions in the House itself. His suggestion came after Minister of State for Finance Bhagwant Kishan Rao Karad, while responding to a question of a member in the House about the Mudra loan beneficiaries, said he will collect the information and share it with him. What is this House for you if you will collect information about everything and then share it? The Speaker said on the minister's response during the question hour. BJP's Bhilwara MP Subhash Chandra Baheria had sought details from the minister on the number of people who have applied for a second loan under the Mudra scheme after successfully using the first loan they got from the bank. Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya moved the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passing in the Lok Sabha. The bill seeks to bring all National Institutes of Pharmaceutical Education and Research across the country at par by giving them the status of Institute of National Importance, he said. As of now, only one, that is NIPA, enjoys the status. Praising the move, BJP's Rajdeep Roy said these institutions will gain administrative and functional autonomy, which in turn will enhance their efficiency and accountability. Congress's Abdul Khaliq expressed his appreciation for the bill, saying it will enhance development and research work. The bill was later passed in the Lok Sabha. Let's now also tell you what happened in the Rajya Sabha today. Well, the Rajya Sabha on Monday saw repeated adjournments on the opposition, as the opposition, including the Congress, left parties, TMC and some other parties, continued with their protests demanding revocation of the suspension of 12 members. The proceedings of the upper house were adjourned twice during the pre-lunch period and another 2 times during the post-lunch period till it was adjourned for the day. Union Home Minister Amit Shah also made a statement on the Nagaland killings amid the din. Making the statement identical to the one made in the Lok Sabha, the Home Minister expressed regret over the Nagaland firing incident and said a probe by a special investigation team will be completed within a month. He asserted that all agencies must ensure such happenings do not recur while taking action against insurgents. He said the situation in Mon district of Nagaland was tense but under control and additional security forces were deployed there. Soon after Shah made the statement, Deputy Chairman asked the members to seek any clarification from the Minister amid continued protests by opposition MPs who raised slogans against the government. Deputy Chairman Harivansh adjourned the House for the day as opposition members refused to relent and continued with their protests. Earlier, the House saw the first adjournment within minutes after it met for the day as opposition MPs trooped into the well after the laying of papers. Opposition members belonging to the Trinamool Congress, the Congress, Aam Aadmi Party and the left trooped into the well of the House raising slogans against the government. The opposition members carrying placards demanded the revocation of suspension of 12 members while raising slogans. Chairperson M. Venkaiah Naidu called for the first zero-hour mention after the listed papers were laid on the table. Leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge demanded a statement from the Home Minister on the Nagaland firing incident. Naidu said it was a very serious issue and he has spoken to the Defence Minister and the Home Minister about it. The chairperson tried to carry on with the zero-hour, but the protests continued. The House is adjourned, sacrificing zero-hour public issues because of some people are not cooperating. That's what the chairperson said, and adjourned the proceedings till noon. 12 opposition MPs, 6 from the Congress, 2 each from the Trinamool Congress and Shiv Sena, and 1 each from the CPI and CPM, were suspended from the Rajya Sabha last Monday for the entire winter session of Parliament for their unruly conduct in the previous session in August. When the House met again at noon, the opposition members again trooped into the well and raised slogans. Deputy Chairperson Harivansh appealed to the protesting members to go back to their seats and allow question hour to be taken up. TMC member Derek O'Brien rose to ask a supplementary question but sought to raise the issue of suspension of members instead, but was not allowed by the chair. Why has democracy dried up in the country is what Derek O'Brien asked anyway. Leader of the House Piyush Goyal said the slogan airing by opposition members showed their intention. The opposition should instead apologize to the House for lowering the dignity of the House by manhandling female security personnel. The chair then adjourned the House as opposition members continued to raise slogans and appeals to maintain decorum went unheeded. After lunch, the proceedings were again adjourned till 3 p.m. amid protests by opposition parties. Soon after, Deputy Chairman Harivansh called for laying on the table the statement of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Thereafter, the Deputy Chairperson sought initiation of the short-duration discussion on the situation arising out of price rise in the country, including the rise in the prices of petroleum products. Leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge stated that he was ready for the discussion, but requested that the suspended MPs be first called into the House. He said, and I quote, "I request you to please call them inside for once," he said, while noting that they have been out of the House for 5 days. The chair said the leader of the opposition and leader of the House should sit together to find a solution to this after the House assembled at 3 p.m. following the third adjournment. Sasmit Patra, who was in the chair, called for a short-term discussion on the situation in the country due to inflation, including the rise in the price of petroleum products. Patra called the leader of opposition to speak on the matter, but he asked the chair to first revoke the suspension of the 12 MPs. In a democracy, it is a crime to run the House and start a discussion after suspending 12 members. That's what Mallikarjun Kharge said. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the opposition wanted to discuss this and the government has agreed for this discussion. She said they are talking about democracy and we have agreed for it. To quote her again, "Is it not democracy and spirit of the House?" she asked, noting that the government is not running away from any debate. This is the hypocrisy of the opposition. That's what Nirmala Sitharaman said, pointing towards the MPs who trooped into the well of the House with placards and were raising slogans. "You first bring the House in order. I am ready to speak, but you revoke the suspension." the leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge said. Amid the din, leader of House Piyush Goyal said, and I quote him, "Now the leader of opposition claims that he is ready to speak and wants to start the discussion and asks you to bring the House in order. This is like playing a game." That's what Goyal said. On one hand, the leader of opposition claims to bring the House in order and on the other hand, encourages his own MPs to get into the well of the House. He held the non-NDA parties responsible for the situation, particularly on petroleum prices, and to cover up, they are in action, saying the nation was watching. That's all we have at the moment in this edition of Parliament News, but all the latest continues right here on DD India. Stay tuned.